Hello and welcome to Budo Cartoon. Today we'll be discussing one of Disney Channel's most beloved animated series, Big City Greens, from start to finish. I'll be summarizing the hilarious and adventure-filled stories of the Green family as they move from a small town to a big city. Throughout this video, we'll get to know the characters of the series and take a closer look at the most standout episodes from each season. As the Green family tries to adapt to the big city, they experience a lot of fun moments and strengthen their bonds with each other. If you want to get to know this funny and heartwarming family better, make sure to watch the video till the end. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to the Budo Cartoon channel and give this video a thumbs up. Now, let's jump into the Green family's adventures in the big city. Now, let's start by briefly getting to know the characters. Cricket Green is an energetic and curious kid. He's always looking for adventure in every corner of the city, which often gets him into trouble, but his love for his family always comes first. Tilly Green, Cricket's calm and dreamy older sister, has strange and deep thoughts that create some of the show's funniest and most unique moments. The family's tough grandmother, Grandma Alice, is old-fashioned but willing to do anything for her family. Her stubbornness as she adjusts to city life leads to many hilarious situations. Bill Green, the devoted father, tries to maintain a rural lifestyle in the city and is an endearing character as he deals with his kids' wild adventures. Now, let's move on to the side characters. Nancy Green, Cricket and Tilly's free-spirited mom, shares her kids' adventurous personality and brings a unique energy to the show. Remy Remington, Cricket's wealthy but timid best friend, contrasts with Cricket in ways that create many funny moments throughout the series. Gloria, the barista who works at the cafe next to Grandma Alice's house, is a sarcastic and ambitious character trying to make it on her own in the big city. Her determination to chase her dreams adds a different dynamic to the show. Lastly, there's Chip Whistler, the Green family's main antagonist. He's a cocky businessman who's always causing trouble for the Greens, making him the show's comedic villain. We begin our cartoon with the episode Welcome Home from the first season. The Green family is filled with excitement as they set out to start a new life in the big city. Cricket is thrilled and eager about moving, even calling himself a city expert. However, his sister Tilly reminds him that he's never actually been to a big city before. Their father Bill is more worried, wondering what life will be like in the city after losing their farm. Despite their excitement, it's clear they have no idea what to expect in this new environment. As they get closer to the city, Bill's anxiety increases, while Cricket and Tilly can't wait to explore all the new things around them. When they finally arrive, Cricket and Tilly are in awe of everything they see. Cricket tells his dad they need to explore the city, and though Bill is hesitant at first, he eventually gives in to the kids' enthusiasm. The moment they step onto the streets, the chaos of the big city greets the family. Cricket and Tilly encounter various oddities around the city, leading to some fun moments, especially when Cricket accidentally sets off a car alarm. Meanwhile, Bill grows more anxious amid the city's hustle and bustle. Despite Bill's growing panic, Cricket is determined to explore the city further and tries to guide his family through the unfamiliar surroundings. However, things don't go as planned. Bill realizes that their car has been towed because they parked in the wrong spot. Now stranded without their vehicle, the family is lost in the city, and Bill starts to worry that just like losing their farm, they won't be able to adjust to city life either. Although Cricket believes the city's opportunities will make everything okay, the family keeps getting misled, making things even more difficult. Even something as simple as trying to catch a taxi turns into a big adventure. As they wander through the city streets, Cricket and his family become completely lost. Bill begins to doubt their ability to overcome these challenges and questions whether they can really live in the city. Cricket, realizing how little he actually knows about the city, starts to feel inadequate, but then he reminds himself of how resilient the Green family is. At this point, the family begins to think about how they can face these difficulties and realize the importance of sticking together. By a stroke of luck, they manage to track down where their towed car is and set off to retrieve it. However, when they arrive at the towing company, they're faced with another danger: 3 large Rottweiler dogs. Bill admits that adjusting to city life is harder than he thought, but Cricket lifts his spirits by reminding him that while they may not know much about the city, there are still things they do know. Using the funny experiences they had earlier, the family cleverly manages to neutralize the dogs. Cricket surprises the dogs by setting off car alarms, while Tilly distracts them by calling birds. In the end, Bill sacrifices his finger to distract the dogs, allowing the family to get their car and escape. After all the events, they realize that living in the city isn't as hard as they initially thought. Cricket and his family come to understand that they can somehow thrive even amidst the city's chaos. By the end of the night, as they look out at the beautiful city skyline, the family feels proud of what they've accomplished together. The next morning, they finally arrive at Grandma Alice's house. Bill feels instantly relieved as the house reminds him of their old home. Cricket thinks the place is perfect. However, they are in for a surprise when Grandma Alice scares them by pretending to be dead. Though she scolds them for being late, she eventually embraces everyone and warmly says, "Welcome home." This first episode shows how the Green family overcomes the challenges of the big city and how together they can handle anything. As they adjust to their new life, their adventures begin. We continue with the first season of our cartoon, moving on to the episode Critter Ball Crisis. In this episode, we'll follow Cricket, Tilly, and Remy as they dive into the excitement of a traditional game called Critter Ball. While playing Critter Ball in the neighborhood, Cricket, Tilly, and Remy run into some trouble. During the game, they accidentally send their ball flying into Big Coffee Cafe, much to the frustration of Gloria, the barista. Gloria sternly warns Cricket and his friends, but they ignore her and continue their game. Eventually, more balls end up outside the cafe, pushing Gloria's patience to its limits. Furious, she yells at Cricket, telling him, "I don't want to see your dumb face again," making her feelings quite clear. Cricket then tries to find a way to make peace with Gloria and get their balls back. He sneaks into the cafe and learns about Gloria's dream of going to Paris. But when he tries to ask for the balls again, things go wrong and Gloria kicks him out. The kids then hatch a plan. While Tilly and Remy create a distraction with a performance, Cricket sneaks in to retrieve the balls. However, Cricket devises another idea: to steal Gloria's model of the Eiffel Tower and use it as a bargaining tool to get their balls back. However, things go wrong and the Eiffel Tower model breaks. This makes Gloria even angrier and she deflates all the Critter Ball balls in frustration. In response, Cricket rallies the farm animals to launch an attack on Big Coffee, causing total chaos. Just then, Gloria's boss, Ms. Cho, arrives at the cafe, notices the mess, and fires Gloria. Cricket realizes that all this chaos is his fault and understands that Gloria won't be able to fulfill her dream of going to Paris. To make up for his mistake, Cricket goes to Ms. Cho and confesses what he did. He proposes a solution. He will work at the cafe to pay for all the damages until the debt is cleared. Ms. Cho agrees to this, and Gloria gets her job back while Cricket becomes her new co-worker. At the end of the episode, Cricket gives Gloria an Eiffel Tower model he made himself as a gesture of goodwill. However, he accidentally drops it, shattering it into pieces. Despite this, Gloria is touched by the gesture and can't help but laugh at the situation. In this episode, while Cricket and his friends go on an adventure, they also learn the importance of friendship and recognizing their mistakes. Now, let's move on to the episode Phil Bill. In this episode, Bill tries to take his family out for a nice meal at a fancy seafood restaurant called Sea Fusion, but things quickly spiral out of control. When Bill takes the family to Sea Fusion in Big City using a gift card, he tries to prove they're not tourists by ordering the Sea Fusion Tsunami, a massive 12-dish meal. Cricket, however, finds the menu options not adventurous enough and orders the Sea Monster Burger, which turns out to be made of a live octopus, making things even more difficult. Meanwhile, Grandma Alice, thinking a decorative trident at the restaurant is from her old seafaring days, plans to steal it. As Cricket and Tilly attempt to rescue the octopuses in the restaurant, Bill struggles with the overwhelming meal. The waiter continuously treating them like tourists frustrates Bill even more. At the same time, the sheer amount of food begins to make him sick. While Grandma Alice is distracted by the restaurant's entertainment activities, she carries out her plan to steal the trident. However, this only leads to more chaos. Bill becomes completely overwhelmed by the meal and starts hallucinating. In his vision, he imagines himself as a sea creature, and a talking fish advises him not to care about what others think and just be himself. This revelation snaps Bill out of his hallucination, and he confronts the waiter, boldly declaring that he is now a true big city resident. He also refuses to finish the dessert, claiming the food is terrible. Meanwhile, Alice accidentally breaks the aquarium holding the octopuses, setting them all free. While this thrills Cricket and Tilly, the chaos escalates as the waiter is swept away by the wave of water, and the restaurant is destroyed in the process. In the end, another employee angrily confronts Bill and informs him that the Green family is now permanently banned from Sea Fusion. The family leaves the restaurant, and while they all agree that they didn't really learn anything from the experience, they all admit that the trident Alice stole is magnificent. The family leaves the wrecked restaurant behind and decides to get pizza instead, ending the episode with a cheerful scene of them happily jumping around. Now we move on to the second season and the episode Green Christmas. In this episode, the Green family gathers to celebrate Christmas, but things take an unexpected turn. The Green family is excitedly celebrating Christmas, and everyone is happy to be together. Cricket is especially thrilled as he eagerly awaits his presents. However, Tilly reminds him that he might end up on the naughty list, which causes Cricket to panic. Tilly reassures him, saying that there's still good in him, and if he does good deeds before Christmas Day, he can make up for his past mischief. Meanwhile, Bill is making big plans for Christmas Eve, eagerly anticipating the moment when the family will exchange gifts. However, Nancy and Grandma Alice are faced with a major problem. They haven't bought a gift for Bill yet. In a panic, the two set off to find the perfect present for him. Cricket and Tilly start doing good deeds, but Cricket quickly grows tired and decides to take a shortcut by going straight to see Santa at the mall. Gloria, working as a Christmas elf at the mall, tries to stop him, but Cricket sneaks past her and reaches Santa. However, in his haste, he embarrasses Santa, knocking off his hat, and finds out that this action has definitely landed him on the naughty list. Cricket, frustrated by his naughty list status, decides that no one deserves Christmas and begins pulling pranks one after another, much to Tilly's horror. Meanwhile, Nancy and Grandma Alice, in a rush to come up with a gift for Bill, attempt to craft a strange present out of random items they find in the garage. However, Bill catches them in the act, and to cover it up, they are forced to join in on Christmas caroling. Despite this, Bill grows disappointed, feeling let down by the lack of a thoughtful gift. Cricket's biggest prank involves replacing the star on Big City's Christmas tree with his own version of a moon, his rear end. During a confrontation with Tilly, the star gets damaged and the tree topples over. Tilly is blamed for ruining Christmas, and Santa tells her she's now on the naughty list too. Seeing Tilly's heartbreak and how hurt she is, Cricket realizes how far he's taken things and feels remorseful for his actions. Meanwhile, Bill learns from the TV that a snowstorm is approaching, prompting him to go find his family. He locates Nancy and Grandma Alice, bringing everyone together. Cricket, feeling regretful, wanders through the snow and encounters a different Santa, one who is not the same as the one from the mall. Cricket admits that what he did was wrong, and Santa offers him one wish. Instead of asking for a gift for himself, Cricket wishes for Tilly to be put back on the nice list, realizing the true meaning of Christmas. Bill finds Cricket and Tilly, and the family returns home. Everyone is quiet, lost in their own thoughts. The next morning, Cricket and Tilly are shocked to discover that they've received all their Christmas presents, even Cricket. His selfless act earned him a gift from Santa after all. Bill, on the other hand, finds the strange figure Nancy and Alice had crafted and happily accepts the quirky gift. The episode ends with the Green family joyfully singing together once again, celebrating the true spirit of Christmas as a family. In this episode, as the Green family learns the true meaning of Christmas, they once again show how important family and sacrifice are. We continue with the second season and the episode Garage Tales. In this episode, we get to hear some fun and adventure-filled stories from Alice's past, but not everything is as it seems. As the Green family tries to clean out old items from the garage, Alice refuses to let go of anything. Bill insists that Alice admit her belongings are just junk, but Alice argues that each item holds great value to her. Cricket and Tilly find an old chest in the garage and soon discover just how important its contents are to Alice. She begins telling them a story, explaining that these objects mark the start of some of the greatest adventures in her life. Alice tells the story of how, in her youth, she ventured into a pyramid in Egypt to steal the pharaoh's treasure. She skillfully evaded all the traps, but the final one got the best of her, causing her to drop the idol. Along the way, she encountered a mysterious adventurer, but things went wrong and the pyramid collapsed. Though she lost the treasure, Alice survived the adventure. Cricket and Tilly are fascinated by the story, but Bill remains skeptical, thinking the tale is heavily exaggerated. Alice insists the story isn't over and continues with part 2. This time, Alice recounts her attempt to hunt the legendary chupacabra in the jungles of Mexico. Once again, she crossed paths with the same mysterious adventurer, and together, they successfully captured the creature. In this adventure, they saved a village and realized they made a great team. Cricket and Tilly are thrilled by the story, while Bill remains doubtful, suspecting it's all a bit too far-fetched. When Tilly asks who the mysterious man is, Alice moves on to her final story. She explains that she was once a secret agent and went to an airborne laboratory to complete her biggest mission yet. Before blowing up the lab with the adventurer, she shows a small jewel box containing a precious item. However, by the end of the story, Cricket and Tilly realize that the box is empty. Bill, still skeptical, reveals that this is Alice's slightly exaggerated version of how she met her late husband, Ernest, who was also the kid's grandfather. In reality, Alice and Ernest met on a dusty road where Ernest fixed her car, and later, he proposed by giving her his mother's pearls. The end of Alice's story highlights how much Ernest meant to her. Bill acknowledges that while his father may not have been a grand hero, he was always a hero in Alice's eyes. Inspired by Alice's tales, Cricket and Tilly admire her adventurous spirit, while Alice fondly looks at an old wedding photo reminiscing about her past. In this episode, we hear fascinating and funny stories about Alice's past. But despite the exaggeration, it's a reminder of how important family bonds truly are. Now, we move on to the thrilling season finale, Chipocalypse Now. In this episode, the Green family fights back against Chip Whistler's plan to destroy their home. Just like in the previous episode, Chip Whistler has bought Big Coffee and now sets his sights on demolishing the Green family's house. He even evacuates the neighboring apartment residence and builds a massive Wholesome Foods market that casts a shadow over the Green family's home. While Cricket, Tilly, Nancy, and Grandma Alice are determined to defend their home, Bill has given up and says it's time to move. Despite Chip's threats, the rest of the family resolves to fight back, but this time, Bill refuses to join them. Cricket, Tilly, and Nancy head to the mayor's office to try and stop Chip's plan to demolish their home. However, Chip corners them there as well, claiming that many big city residents want the Green family gone, showing a petition full of signatures as proof. Nancy quickly realizes the signatures are fake, and the situation escalates into a confrontation. Nancy is arrested, giving Chip more time to proceed with his plan. Cricket and Tilly, realizing Chip is lying, team up with Remy and decide to sneak into Chip's office to uncover the truth. Determined to save their home, they hatch a plan to expose Chip's dirty tactics before it's too late. Meanwhile, Chip's demolition crew begins moving in to tear down the Green family's house at midnight. Alice and Tilly stand their ground to defend their home, while Cricket and Remy work to uncover the fake signatures on Chip's computer. Remy's assistant, Vasquez, also arrives to lend a hand. Tilly makes an emotional speech on television, convincing Bill to finally join the fight. At the same time, Cricket gathers the evidence needed to expose Chip's corrupt plan. Despite Chip's attempts to stop him, Cricket manages to capture the attention of the entire city, revealing Chip's fake signature campaign to the public. The mayor, listening to the people's wishes, decides not to demolish the Green family's home and permanently bans Chip from Big City. In a last-ditch effort for revenge, Chip attempts to attack Cricket with his helicopter, but he gets tangled in power lines and loses control, facing defeat once again. As Chip retreats, Cricket declares that Chip doesn't belong in Big City, and Chip finally leaves the city for good. Everything returns to normal, but Big Coffee remains closed, with the building now listed for rent. As the family tries to relax, they are surprised when Gloria, having lost both her job and home, decides to move in with the Green family. This unexpected development leaves the family in shock, and the episode ends on that note. This thrilling finale keeps viewers engaged, showing how the Green family overcomes challenges through solidarity and unity. Now we move on to the third season's episode, The Move. In this episode, the Green family makes the decision to leave the big city and return to their old farm. The Green family says their goodbyes to their friends in Big City and decides to return to their old home in the countryside. While Bill, Tilly, and Cricket pack up their belongings, Grandma Alice chooses to stay behind to oversee the new Gloria Plus Green Cafe investment. As they bid farewell to Gloria, Remy, eager for an adventure, prepares to go with them to the countryside, just like a foreign exchange student. Nancy also joins them with her RV, and the family sets off, leaving Big City behind. After the journey, the Green family and Remy arrive at their old farmhouse. When Tilly enters the house, she senses that things aren't quite the same, though she can't pinpoint exactly what feels off. Suddenly, a deer crashes through the living room window and bolts out, leaving a mess behind. Bill starts noticing all the problems with the house and immediately gets to work fixing things. Meanwhile, Tilly, Cricket, and Remy decide to explore the woods in search of their old treehouse. Meanwhile, as Nancy unpacks her belongings, she notices Bill constantly fixing every little problem in the house. Despite her attempts to get him to relax, Bill is relentless in his repairs. In an effort to stop him, Nancy takes his tools and locks him inside the house. However, determined to continue, Bill accidentally ends up causing more damage and collapses part of the living room while trying to fix things. In the forest, Cricket, Tilly, and Remy search for their old treehouse. Cricket soon realizes that he's no longer as comfortable in the woods as he once was, and discovers that he's no longer immune to poison ivy. Tilly, meanwhile, tries to communicate with the animals animals, but instead of responding positively, they see her as a threat and chase the kids through the woods. When they finally find their old treehouse, they are saddened to see that it has been worn down by time and nature. Remy, however, encourages them by explaining that change is a natural part of life and that they can learn to live with these changes. Back at the house, Bill learns a similar lesson, realizing that while things may have changed, they can still be fixed, but not everything needs to be perfect immediately. The kids decide to repair their old treehouse, embracing the changes and working together to restore it. Meanwhile, Bill finally listens to Nancy's advice and takes a break, relaxing on the porch. By the end of the day, the kids return home, and together with the adults, they watch the sunset in peace. Alice calls to check in, asking if everything is the same as it used to be. The kids respond by saying that things aren't exactly the same, but they know they will grow to love the house again over time. This episode delivers a touching story about how change is an inevitable part of life and how longing for the past can be balanced with new experiences. Now we move on to the season finale, Long Goodbye. In this episode, the Green family says their goodbyes to Remy and Grandma Alice, but things become far more complicated than expected. Remy and Grandma Alice reach the end of their stay at the farm and prepare to return to Big City. The Green family is saddened by this upcoming farewell. Bill, wanting to extend the goodbye, decides to take Cricket and Tilly with him to drive them back to Big City. Meanwhile, Nancy chooses to stay behind at the farm, admitting that the only reason she loved Big City was because her family was there. When they arrive in Big City, Bill, Cricket, and Tilly start to feel a bit out of place as they recall their old routines. They head to the marketplace and bump into old friends, sharing fond memories. Meanwhile, as Alice and Remy prepare to return to their homes, Bill convinces them to stay a little longer. At the same time, Remy's bodyguard, Vasquez, has organized a welcome home party for Remy. When Remy doesn't show up, Vasquez becomes worried. Gloria, waiting for Alice's return, is visited by a notary, Merv Stampington, who needs Alice to sign some papers. Merv's only goal is to finish his job and retire by 6 p.m. However, it soon becomes clear that Bill, Cricket, and Tilly have been deliberately stalling to keep Alice and Remy from leaving. Vasquez, unable to reach Remy, teams up with Gloria, and the two set off to track them down. As events escalate, Merv is dragged into the chaos, leading to a wild series of mishaps across the city. Vasquez uses a smoke bomb to successfully bring the Green family back home. Remy is reunited with Vasquez, while Alice signs the documents at the last minute, allowing Merv to retire on time. It turns out the papers Gloria needed Alice to sign were for Alice to legally sell cheese. As the Green family prepares to leave Big City with heavy hearts, they start to accept the farewell. On their way home, their truck runs out of gas exactly 80 miles between Big City and Smallton. They call Nancy for help, and she arrives to rescue them. Afterward, the family admits that they miss Big City and their friends there. Nancy suggests that while she enjoys staying on the farm, the Green family could live between the two places, traveling back and forth between Big City and the countryside. Bill, Cricket, and Tilly are thrilled with the idea and happily agree, deciding to return to Big City. The episode ends with a heartwarming scene that suggests the Green family will live a happy life by balancing their time between the farm and the city. However, the final moments deliver a shocking twist for the viewers. In a cemetery, Chip Whistler's gravestone is shown, and a gravedigger remarks on what a scoundrel Chip was. It's explained that Chip was buried here after being permanently banned from Big City, but suddenly, a shadowy figure appears next to the grave. The figure is revealed to be none other than Chip Whistler himself. Chip had faked his death and is secretly plotting an even bigger revenge against the Green family. While this episode highlights the Green family finding a new balance in their lives, it also leaves viewers on edge with the looming threat of Chip Whistler's return. That's right, friends. With the Green family's return to Big City and Chip Whistler's looming revenge, we've wrapped up the third season of Big City Greens. Throughout this season, the Green family experienced great adventures both in the city and the countryside, made new friends, and overcame tough challenges together. But the story doesn't end here. With Chip Whistler's return, things are bound to get even more complicated in the upcoming fourth season. We're eagerly waiting to see the new adventures the Green family will face in the big city and how Chip's grand revenge plan will unfold. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share your thoughts on the upcoming season in the comments below. Stay tuned for more fun content on Budo Cartoon, and we'll see you in the next video.